that was President Obama's former national security advisor, Susan Rice, back in April, at first denying allegations that the Obama administration unmasked or so-called revealed the names of the Trump team in order to spy on them about Russia. Later admitting, though, Susan Rice later admitted that they indeed did just that. Now, a source close to the House panel review saying that the number of those involved in this alleged unmasking in the Obama administration could grow to more than half a dozen officials. Now, Susan Rice is supposed to appear before a closed session of the Senate Intelligence Committee this week, but today's appearance of Susan Rice before the House committee was postponed. Now, let's take a quick look at how some defense stocks did today. We're looking at Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman closing in the red. We have Raytheon and General Dynamics ending the day in the green. Let's bring in former Utah Congressman and the former chair of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. He is a Fox contributor, Jason Chaffetz. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
What can we expect from Susan Rice?
Well, you hope to get the truth. I mean, initially, she's been very eager to speak to the press, not quite so eager to speak with the congressional inquiry. And so first she denied it, and then she said, well, we didn't do it for political reasons. But there is a finite number of people who get to see this information, and there is quite a paper trail on who unmasks these. And this is one instance, I would point out, where we actually know that a crime has been committed. So you look at all the other noise about Russia and all the other things that you hear out there. This is an instance where we know somebody broke the law.
You know, Congressman, the question is, too, why is this a closed session? Don't the American people deserve to hear directly from Susan Rice what she says instead of via leaks?
Well, I can understand how they would want to first go into a classified setting. You're dealing about very sensitive information. The process by which it goes through is very sensitive into itself. But I do hope that the culmination at some point is a public hearing or a public report, whether it be the Inspector General or the committee itself, where we get to understand who did what and how. And this is also a precursor to a bigger problem the intelligence community is going to have, because that reauthorization for the program has to come up later this year. And when you hear about how easy it is to get in and leak names, it would be very difficult for Congress to reauthorize this program later in the year.
Yeah, Congressman, to your point, I mean, now a half a dozen Obama officials potentially scrutinized in this unmasking probe. Now, the question is, why would people like Obama's White House Chief of Staff, Dennis McDonough, and Samantha Powers, a diplomat, have access to this intelligence? I mean, we're talking about the privacy of people on the Trump team as well, and Americans as well.
Well, I do think that's the pivotal question, is why were they looking at these particular pieces of information? There is so much information out there, and these two people, Samantha Powers and Susan Rice, given their level of, they have one of the highest security clearances you can have. I can understand them having that, but why did they look at this particular information, and why did they want it unmasked? That is the pivotal question.
You know, Congressman, is this what happened? I mean, all right, let's back up about the timeline. The Democrat National Committee gets hacked in 2015. The Obama White House is criticized for not doing anything about that until a vague warning to Russia more than a year later in October 2016. Hillary and the Democrats continue to complain about the do-nothing Obama administration on this. But behind the scenes, the Obama White House is spying and leaking on Trump and Trump officials. Is that what happened?
Well, that latter part is one of the allegations, and that's one of the question marks. But the timing, given the lateness in the Obama administration, is very much a question mark. I think the other big question mark, we're getting a little bit off topic, but when Jay Johnson, the Homeland Security Secretary, goes to the Democratic organization and says, we believe there's been a hack, we want to help, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, or at least that organization over there, and the Democrats kind of puts out their stiff arm and says, we don't need, any help, don't come and look at this, then Homeland Security backs off. And I think a lot of this is my guess. The underlying premise here was that Hillary Clinton was on a glide path to victory, and they didn't want to disrupt anything.
That's a good point. Former Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz, now a Fox contributor. Thank you so much for coming on. We love having you on. Come back soon.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Calling for her to testify before Congress in the Russia investigation. But given her history, is she even credible?
Well, you know who is credible? Medal of Honor recipient Dakota Meyer. And he asks, in the wake of Benghazi, on a tweet, could someone please tell me how Ambassador Rice still has enough credibility to comment on anything more than the Kardashians. Joining us now is retired Marine Sergeant and Medal of Honor recipient Dakota Meyer. Sergeant Dakota, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Great. How are you?
Thanks for being here. So what do you make Susan Rice and her credibility? Where does it stand with you right about now?
I mean, look, you have to look. She was the last administration's appointed liar-in-chief, right? I mean, she came out, she lied about Benghazi. I mean, a year ago, she said on MSNBC, and she said that all the chemical weapons were removed from Syria. I mean, did she know then, just like she knew whenever she lied about Benghazi, that they weren't removed? I mean, it's insane. I mean, I think she needs to testify. I think she needs to testify, and I think that what she'll see, just like the world just seen, we have a new administration in town. I hope that you know, the last administration doesn't represent across the world what the U.S. is, and I think that Trump will hold her accountable, and I think that it's time for the last administration to be held accountable, because the one thing that they were so consistent on, they would compromise the truth at a moment's notice for their political agenda, and that's insane, and then she's still trying to defend it.
Do you think that she was given wrong information, or she knew the real facts and was telling the public something different?
Well, here's what I would say. I'd say that I could look back, you know, maybe at other circumstances or other situations and say, yeah, maybe she didn't. Maybe she was misinformed. You know what I mean? But I think that with her to still continue, and just like she just did about continuing to say that, you know, we were still more effective at getting the chemical weapons out more than, you know, with their decisions based in 2013 than you would be able to with force, then what I challenge her to say is go over and tell the families who just lost their loved ones that what you did was effective, that the actions that you did was effective.
Well, President Obama in 2014 said, you know, it turns out we were right, that by not attacking them in 2013 after that chemical attack, we were right because we managed then to get all of those chemical weapons out of Syria. When you hear that, we played that statement yesterday, it just makes your skin crawl.
It does, and it just shows you that, look, that whole administration operated under a political prism. Every decision was made off of political agendas and look, trying to make everyone happy. I mean, at the end of the day, I have to tell you, you know, to see President Trump go and make that decision, not worry about the naysayers and not worry about, you know, what winning in the court of public opinion and making a decision that was morally right. I don't know if I've seen any decisions made from the last administration that were based off of what's morally right and what is our obligation to, you know, to the world and to the you know, the people across, you know, that rely on us. I mean, you see the Syrians talking about, you know, they look to us to come make and bring peace and help them out in the times that they need it the most.
And Dakota, as a recipient of the Medal of Honor, you're a war fighter. You received that medal under the Obama administration. But with the new Trump administration and their actions in Syria, what's your take on how President Trump has responded there?
I mean, I think it's incredible. It takes my respect level for this man through the roof. I mean, it puts a whole, I mean, Pete, you know, I mean, it gives us the assurance that we're going to be able to do what's right, that we're back. I mean, that's what it feels like. We're back, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think a lot of people around the country and around the world, as we heard from those Syrian refugees on this program, feel like American leadership is back on the global stage. Dakota Meyer, thank you very much.
Why would Susan Rice pursue this?
I have no idea, but I think we need to get to the bottom of it. Susan Rice, in my view, misled the American people about the nature of the attack in Benghazi. She appeared on 5 Sunday shows after the attack, saying things that were completely false and untrue. In terms of political manipulation of national security information, Susan Rice, in my view, has done it in the past. Whether or not she did it this time, I don't know, but it's something Congress should look into. If she was involved in unmasking Trump transition figures, what was the reason, and was there a political motive? I'd like to know that, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
She worked for the president, right?
Well, yeah, but she was a very political person. I didn't trust her.
Who would have told her to do this and pursue it?
I have no idea, but here's the one thing I can tell you about Susan Rice and Ben Rhodes. I thought they manipulated the fact pattern in Benghazi to the benefit of the president. I thought they tried to mislead the American public. There was a coordinated terrorist attack. There was not some protest outside the embassy. So I know what they're capable of doing. I'm not going to prejudge here, but I think every American should know whether or not the National Security Advisor to President Obama was involved in unmasking Trump transition figures for political purposes. It should be easy to figure out, and we will.
Did she break the law, Senator?
I have no idea, but I'd like to know the answer to that question. One, did she do it? She claims she didn't. Other people claim she did. Let's talk to Brennan and Clapper. They should know. If she made a request, it would be to them. So I would suggest that we call in Brennan and Clapper and see if there was ever a request made by Susan Rice about Trump transition.
Based on that answer, you're suggesting this story runs deep, Senator.
Oh, I think it does run deep. I'm worried about Trump ties to Russia. I'm worried about who's leaking all this classified information to hurt our country. I'm very worried about somebody unmasking incidental collection for political purposes. I'm worried about all three.
Is this the information that was spread to, what was it, 16, 17 other government agencies in the closing days of the Obama administration? Is this part of that?
I don't know. What I do remember being told was that the intelligence community assessed that the Russians hacked into the DNC computers and Podesta's emails for political purposes to interfere in our election. That happened before the election. After the election, now we have allegations that the Trump transition team, through incidental collection, that their names were collected and unmasked, apparently inappropriately. I think that is a real problem that we should get to the bottom of. And there's an easy answer to this. Did she ask Brennan and Clapper to unmask incidental collection of Trump transition figures? If she did, I want to know why.
Well, you mentioned the 5 talk shows after Benghazi.
Right.
That's okay. She did an interview 12 days ago.